We are live, and this is Talking Sci-Fi.
And your host, Sean and Randee.
Hi, and welcome to Talking Sci-Fi with Randee and Sci-Fi Sean. Welcome to our first official show. Hopefully you had a chance to watch our introduction show, which was very comical and very entertaining on my end because my friend Randee here never talks. All he does is sit there with his mouth open. Are you a mouth breather?
I am.
Are you? I am too, but don't tell everybody that.
Sometimes I video home videos and you can hear it. I'm like,
hey, we got our first show, and I thought, what a great idea. I'm getting away from that subject, sorry.
Already?
Oh my gosh. We want to open up with our first show's topic, and I've picked a good one. It's very sci-fi controversial, so I said, why not, since we're in my big Star Trek studio here in Bartow, Florida. We're going to talk about Star Trek, but not just any Star Trek. We're going to talk about, wait for it, drum roll, Star Trek Discovery. Have you guys seen this show yet? I know it's on All Access. You kind of have to pay for it unless you know how to get around those things like my hacker friend Randee here does. Oh, awesome Metallica shirt, by the way. I love that. I got my Straczynski.
I see
Metallica
that. That's
shirt
awesome.
on. Yeah,
Awesome.
I know.
Master of Puppets.
Master of
All-time
Puppets.
favorite,
It
right?
is. It's great. But anyway, Discovery. If you have not seen this program yet, when it first came out and they made all these rumors and hypes about a new Star Trek series that was going to be on an all-access CBS channel,
Right.
which you have to pay for, I mentioned, which really, right off the bat, before I even heard anything about it, little history for you.
Yeah.
CBS aired the original Star Trek in the 60s and canceled it before the third season was over. They only did a few episodes into the 80s, and they said, nope, we're going to get rid of this. It came out in the 60s. It's too controversial. You have a black woman that's in a command position. You have an Oriental guy that's steering the Starship Enterprise. You have all these controversial things, so people aren't smart enough to actually, understand what this is. Do you know they were going to cancel the original Star Trek originally before it even aired? Do you know who saved it?
No, I don't.
This is some trivia for you. Desilu Studios, which is, of course, Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, saved Star Trek. Wow. They were the reason why we got to see the first three seasons of Star Trek, or the original episodes. So, as you guys know that have watched this, Star Trek has went through a mutation, starting from the original Star Trek in 1966 when the pilot premiered called The Cage, before Captain Kirk. Captain Pike was on there. They went on, got canceled, disappeared for years, came out with Star Trek the Motion Picture for the big screen.
Right.
Big production, great soundtrack, kind of leaned towards the original, I can use the word canon, you understand what that means, don't you?
Yes.
Of the original series, and it died. It was.
Can I stop you real quick?
Sure.
Okay, because I was going to watch Star Trek. I was trying to get into Star Trek and Star Wars at that time.
Correct.
And I don't know who proof watched these movies, but there is a scene that as a kid, it really turned me off.
Okay.
And I don't know, because kids are always wanting to see go, go, go.
Right.
But when the captain was on his ship.
You're talking about one of the movies, or
the first movie.
Okay, the first movie. Okay.
The first movie.
Correct.
Okay.
Motion picture.
It seemed like it took 20 minutes to get to
what's going on.
Well, what I'm saying is just that ride. He's taking a shuttle
with Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Scotty takes him out to the Enterprise.
It seemed like that one scene is 20 minutes long.
It does.
And it's like, wow, I can't sit here for this.
Right.
So that was one of the things. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Have you ever finished that movie, or did you?
No, I did finish the movie.
It doesn't get much better, and you know that. And I love it. I put it on. I love the soundtrack. The storyline is all right. We learn about some new aliens from the original Star Trek that we didn't know. But yes, they were trying to bring the series back.
Right.
So they went and did that, and then they said, well, that was kind of like, it did okay. Mm-hmm. Then they went and came back with Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan, which they went back and bridged back to the original series to Space Seed, where Ricardo Montalban, which is the actor that played Khan Noonien Singh.
And I didn't know anything about any of that prior
Right. You
to
did
that.
not watch the original
So
Star Trek.
Wrath of Khan was amazing to me.
Right.
You know, so, but anyways.
And we're getting to Discovery, we're just laying some groundwork. And then they did a few more movies. We can go into another show. We're kind of focusing on Discovery, and I'm working to that because this is a very important point I need to make. When they did all this, try to get the series back in line and everything, they were only being supported mostly by the old Star Trek fans.
Right.
They were the people that went to the movies, watched the new shows. Yes, they drew in some new people and all that. Then a gentleman named J.J. Abrams and his film crew started to reboot the Star Trek series in the, I think it was the early 2000s.
Right.
And they made a movie called Star Trek, just Star Trek, and it was basically the reboot of the crew, young. They changed a lot of things, which made a lot of the older Star Trek fans a little upset. They changed some storylines in that, if you've seen it. I'm sure most of you guys have. I recommend it. It's good. They did 3 of these movies. And they did the second movie, they got the same feel, I think, of what you were saying about the Star Trek the Motion Picture from the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yeah.
They made a Wrath of Khan called Star Trek Into Darkness, which was about this guy that was frozen. He was a criminal, and they unthawed him for him to get. And I don't want to give away anything if you haven't seen it. I don't recommend this movie if you're a huge Star Trek fan because but you've seen the remakes, and this is where I'm going with this. Okay, Randy, how old are you?
I am 44. I was
you're
born in
44.
74.
Okay, I'm 52.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a gap, or a 10-year gap there.
Right.
So they made this Into Darkness, and they tried to redo the Wrath of Khan storyline, and completely just took the original. Sorry, Mr. Montalban. Ripped out Khan's asshole pretty much, and plugged up another puppet hand up in there, and made it a completely different movie. Again, not my favorite of the Star Trek reboots. Now, Star Trek Beyond, which we can get into, was a little bit better. So it's moving on. This is my point about what Discovery is, because when Discovery came out, I started hearing all this hype about it. I did not want to watch it. They were getting into some controversial things of nowadays times, if you will.
Right.
And I said, what are they going to do with this Star Trek series?
Right.
I saw my first picture of what a Klingon in Star Trek Discovery World looked like. Lost my freaking mind. It looked nothing like the Klingons from either the original, which were just some guys with makeup on with mustaches, Fu Manchu mustaches, to a Klingon that had a bumpy ridged head, to Commander Worf on Star Trek The Next Generation. So we had this whole idea of what the Klingons were. Years of what the Klingons were. So all of a sudden, bam, warp speed, here comes Star Trek Discovery. We're going to change every damn thing. A lot of Star Trek fans were mad got mad because they did not follow canon from the original series.
Right.
And I was one of those fans. I lost my mind.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you why they did this.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead. What you got?
No. But before you get into the Discovery,
Yeah.
I would like to point out that I didn't watch the original Star Wars. Star Wars. See, I got Star Wars always on the damn mind. I know it.
That was a slap, ladies and gentlemen. I literally just slapped Randy's
I know
face.
it. And I love this gremlin. I'm glad you put him
It's
in my
not a crib.
Oh, it's not?
That is a furry, lovely little animal from the original Star Trek called a tribble.
Yeah, see,
Trouble with tribbles. You need to do your research.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I don't.
No. So here's the deal. I didn't watch the original series. Would you say in the 60s before I was born?
Correct. 66.
66. Okay.
Yes.
So I didn't watch that, and I have watched no Star Trek series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I
Right.
started with the first motion picture, did the Wrath of Khan. There's some other ones in there where I cried when Spock died. I was a kid. I can't remember.
Right.
Did he
It
die?
was Wrath of Khan.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Spoiler alert, Mr.
Oh,
Spock dies.
no. But when they started talking to Wells in New York, I think it
It was
was.
San Diego.
Oh,
California.
Okay, shows you how
Which
much
they
I
still
don't know.
talk to whales in that place, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
right. But I kind of, I don't
You
wanna
lost
say,
it.
I didn't lost my mind like you did,
Right.
but I was like, this is not for me.
Right.
I'm not into this. Okay, so with that said, now let's get on to the new movies. You mentioned them real quick. I know we're talking about Discovery, but
All right.
I loved them.
The whale movie you did not like.
I did not like.
But you like the new reboots by J.J. Abrams.
Oh,
the
love
three
them.
And
I
you like
love
the
them.
one and you've seen the original Wrath of Khan, and you still like Into Darkness. Okay, so that blows my mind.
Yeah,
but that's
I love
fine,
that.
and everyone is entitled to their opinion.
Okay.
But this is,
Right. I like a fun time in the theater, and I
Mhm.
feel like they did a great job. And I'm telling you, seeing him stealing his stepdad's car and running it off the cliff,
Right.
and the bar fight and the ride up, with
Right.
the doctor and firing the guy because he wouldn't step over the line. All that stuff, and then having him go to the space station,
Correct.
to see,
Mhm.
I love that stuff. And believe it or not, I loved the actor for your buddy that you don't.
The guy that I don't like.
Yeah,
Cumberbatch.
Is that his name?
From the second one?
Yeah.
The Into Darkness?
Yeah,
He's all right. I mean, Doctor Strange saved me on that actor.
I
so,
got you.
know.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Same actor.
Right. Yes.
So,
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't remember his name.
I call him Cucumber Patch because
To me, I thought he was perfect for that role. Now you're talking to somebody that didn't grow up watching all
Right.
the series
Right.
and the whole backstories and all that stuff. So, anyways, I just want to give everybody a point of view. I love those movies.
Well, just to point out, there's a few things I want to move on to Discovery
Okay.
because
Yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
take up most of our
Oh, yeah,
talking
absolutely.
here. You love the character that played Khan
Right.
in the second movie. So, you like Wrath of Khan. You like the original
reboots.
Wrath of Khan. You like the reboot of kind of what they did there. That had nothing. All that story had nothing to do with the original Star Trek.
I have no clue of
That's
that.
right. That is
Yeah.
correct. Captain Kirk's dad. That you
Right.
said-
I love that
He-
part where he
he's-
sacrifices.
Right. Well, he didn't do that in the original Star Trek. In the original Star Trek, Kirk's dad is still alive, George.
Oh, okay.
So they changed a lot, and I understand.
Right.
If I get a hold of something and I want to make it mine, just like J.J. Abrams did,
Mhm.
I'm going to make it mine. And
Yeah.
but J.J. Abrams was more a Star Wars fan than he was a Star Trek. So he said, "Let me just get this out of the way, and then we'll move on to Star
Right.
Wars."
I agree.
All right,
Okay.
so getting into Discovery,
Yes.
we touched on that a
Yes.
little bit. We know where we stand. As I said, I did not care for Discovery.
Mhm.
I didn't want nothing to do with it. I had friends watching it, telling me on Facebook. My friend Paul from South Florida, he's like, "Don't do it, Sean. Don't walk away." He would fill me in. But my good friend Larry Lawrence, he was loving it. He loved it, and he's an original fan. So I had
Okay.
two
Oh, okay.
original fans, one hate, one love. So I'm like, it got my curiosity up. I went for the entire span of the first season of Discovery, not even looking at anything. I'd read the post about it, which of course, if you guys are on social media and all that, that's the worst thing you could do is read someone else's opinion about something.
Especially the actual critics.
So, correct. So, it went on, and I waited for it to come out on DVD. And I was in the big box store that starts with a W one day,
Mhm.
and I seen it up there, and it was like $30 for this complete season. I took it, and I said, I'm curious.
Yeah.
So, my wife Laura and I, which is on the rocker with Star Trek, she loves it, but there's a lot she does not know.
Right.
I'm getting to a point with what I'm saying here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we watched it, and I was touched that they paid homage to a lot of original stuff, but they completely, like in the J.J. Abrams movies,
Right.
flipped it and gave it a whole nother asshole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were getting on some really controversial topics now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stand it. It's so PC and all that, and I'm an older guy, so the PC thing I'm having to embrace, being made to embrace.
Right.
So I went through it. They touched on some things like the gay issue, the race issue,
Racial
the
relationship.
racial and things like. Which is, I'm like, I wasn't mad about it. It's just like, no, Star Trek isn't about that. Then
They come
After-
out with Little Mermaid. Oh,
no, don't start that controversy with me. So I watched it a second time because as you've also, because you just
Yeah.
recently watched Discovery
Yeah.
season 1.
Had no desire
clue.
to until
Right.
I talked to Lord.
Until you said, hey, we're going to do a podcast. What are we going to talk about? I said, let's do Star Trek Discovery. Oh my God, I know nothing about Star Trek Discovery. Can I borrow your episode? No, Randy really doesn't sound like that. Randy's more of a cookie monster. Me want cookie? No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, I always make fun of Randy's weight. And I'm just like 2 pounds less weight than you are. So a story for another time. So Randy borrows some of the the Gothic novels from comic book that started that were filling in some hot spots, if you will, about the show. My wife, who is not a hardcore original Star Trek fan, she liked Deep Space Nine, she liked Voyager, didn't hardly watch any Next Generation. She read the little comic book and she got into it, and we were watching it, and I'm like, I just can't get into this show because it was so into what the Klingon people were doing and all their situation, and I just couldn't get past it. My love for the original Star Trek was a wall. I didn't want nothing to do with it. So we watched it for a third time. Yes, people that know me, I watched Star Trek Discovery first season 3 times.
It's on every TV in every room.
It is not.
Every house.
Don't even.
In his whole house.
So my wife, Lori, sat there and explained it to me because I got all lost in the Klingon.
Yeah.
Who is what? Why is this person? What is it? I knew who the word Kalas was. I knew all this. Again, hat tipping to the original, but not really following the storyline. So my wife actually sat down and explained it all to me, and then we watched it all, and then all of a sudden, damn, I get this now. So I didn't love it. I didn't want to really say I liked it, but I was a little bit better than when it first came out. So I got to thinking, why am I not liking this show? Was it because I've let friends tell me their opinion of it, which was part of it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sorry, Paul, but that happens.
That happens.
But I got past that and I started thinking, why was I mad about all the controversial stuff with the black woman on the bridge, like Lieutenant Uhura in the past? And I'm like, they're touching on today controversial things.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s, they were touching on 60s controversial things. So that really hadn't changed.
Right.
Star Trek has always been out front when it comes to touching on subjects and making people understand, because in the 24th century, 22nd century, wherever each Star Trek show is originated from, there's peace and harmony, which there isn't, but still, Earth is a different place than it is now. And not touching on a socialism thing, but in the Star Trek world, if you follow it, Earth comes together because of a World War III happens, and it wipes out a lot of the population, so they have to rebuild. It's one of the Star Trek movies you'd have to watch one day. And that's your next lesson. I know I'll give you all those movies unless you watch that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I started thinking, why are so many people liking this show? And why are so many people hating this show?
Mm-hmm.
And I finally figured it out, and thanks to my good friend Randy here, was the reason why. It's the generation gap.
It is.
You didn't watch the original Star Trek, so you had no idea.
Mm-mm. And your wife gave me the book to read.
Yep.
And did you even read the
book?
book?
Absolutely.
You read the book?
I can't think of the name of the graphic novel. It's
man.
really awesome.
It blew my mind, and I am actually a Klingon fan in a way.
Right.
As long as Takuvma, or however you say it,
Don't give away too much.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, I like when all the houses are together and they're trying to do right in a sense.
But then you have this faction that does, screw it, we want to conquer the universe.
Right, exactly. So,
and the Klingons in the original were kind of similar to that as well.
Yeah.
But that's why the difference is. My love for the original series, I hate to say this, is like a religion to me. I can quote it from the back of my hand, as Mr. Scott would say. But and that was in the Whale movie, so you would not have known what that reference was.
Well, I watched the Whale movie. I just don't remember.
I take that back. It was not in the Whale movie. It was in Star Trek V, actually. So anyway, that's why I have, and I think a lot of my friends that are hardcore Trekkies have a problem with Discovery, because yes, they've taken it and ripped it apart. I have a really good friend that used to be over the Star Trek fan club out of Orlando, Norm. He comes to Sci-Fi Bartow, which is one of our sponsors, by the way, Sci-Fi Bartow, February 15th, 2020. Be there. It's awesome. He actually put a post on Facebook, and he said, because everybody was trashing on Discovery, and he goes, this is the new way of Star Trek. We're not going to go back. They're never going to go back and recreate, because a lot of the cast members, Nichelle Nichols this weekend is doing her last convention, and she's hanging it up because she's older.
Yeah.
You know, George Takei came and hugged her at the the convention was in South Florida this weekend, just to say hello, and she's hanging it up. So, and you know, we've lost Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock. We've lost DeForest Kelly, Dr. McCoy. We've lost Scotty, and a lot of they're dropping. Yeah. And I'm sorry to say, you know, Shatner, he's pushing 80 right now. You know, but he's a fit guy. So, and Norm was saying we're going to have to accept this. Yes, the Klingons are different. They were different in the J.J. Abrams movies that you were watching. They're a lot different in Discovery. Season 2 is out now of Discovery, which I have not seen one episode of. Haven't heard anything about, but I see niblets, if you will, on Facebook about, oh, I like what they did with the Klingons with the hair, because the Klingons in Discovery are bald. They're just ridges. So I'm thinking, and then they said, oh, Sean, you got to go and watch. You'll love second season better because it's more like the original Star Trek. I'm like, so what has made these people change?
Well, I before you jump into that, I would like to point out that there is a petition going around to get CBS to give it to somebody different that knows about Star Trek.
Really?
And that blows my mind.
Because CBS is the ones that canceled it in the first place in the 60s.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is I like the show, and it's hard to believe that somebody would go as far to get thousands of signatures to say, hey, you don't deserve this.
Right.
And they sunk all this money into it, and it is, to me, it is a fantastic show.
It is a visually pleasing show with the effects and everything. And again, the way I'm going, it's a generational gap. Yeah. Younger kids today want to see the newest thing. It goes all the way down to cell phones. They don't want some flip open cell phone or a big brick looking cell phone. They want the latest technology. So if you do a Star Trek series, you're going to bridge it to please the younger generation.
My 12 and 17-year-old love it.
Yes. So you let your 12 and 17. That's very. There's cussing and stuff on there. All right. Ashley's going to beat your ass.
I better cut that out.
Yeah, because she's going to watch it. So this is what just blows my mind. And it eased my heart of Targ heart when I started realizing, well, it is our new Star Trek. I don't have to accept it as the religion that I have followed, if you will. Right. But it's for the young people, and it's all about the Benjamins. It's about money. Yeah, you look at the bridge of the USS Discovery, which is the main ship that has all this weird technology that they, not trying to give you any spoilers, but they have something different than warp drive they use, and they use a giant dust bunny as the power source. And
I love it.
It is. It looks like a dust bunny, doesn't it? It's a big dust bunny. And I'm like, wow. And then, of course, they take the most popular episodes of all the Star Trek series, which is the Mirror Universe episodes, and that's what they go off with Discovery. It's like 3-4 episodes, isn't it? Yeah. And then they bridge it on to the very end. So, and then, you know, they start filling the butt hurt at the end. I think the producers or directors did. So they bring in Jonathan Frakes, which is from Next Generation actor Riker. He starts directing a few episodes. So they start changing it that way because Frakes is a great director, in my opinion. So they change it in that direction a little bit. And at the end of Discovery, the original Enterprise shows up. They've changed it a little bit too. Was not happy with it, but visually it's really awesome to look at. But history-wise, you look at an original Star Trek episode, Randy, I know you've never seen one, but when they're walking down the halls and everything, you can see plywood, and you can see Christmas lights blinking, and you can see all different, because that was the technology of the day. Now they have CGI and all that, you know.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What do you love about Star Trek Discovery?
Okay, first of all, what I like about it, I feel like it is more about war and not out exploring. And I think as a kid, yeah, they had fights back in the old days,
right?
Okay, but I feel like this series is pushing to war, and that's why I liked the other S movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was all about taking over, and it was about war, and I didn't get that feel as a kid from Star Trek. Mm-hmm. Okay, it was like, we're here to discover, we're not going to interrupt these people, and we're going to make their lives better without them knowing we're here. And I kind of like, you take the Abrams movies, okay? Yes. Mm-hmm. I can't remember which one it was, but they're on a planet and they're running through the white woods and the red people are chasing them,
mm-hmm.
you know, and for the people to see them to run the ship out of the water, and the technology. I'm a techie person.
Yeah.
Like, okay? So when I go back and I watch the guns and the explosions in the ship in the old Star Trek, yeah, it is kind of cheesy and fun to watch now.
Right.
But back then, looking at that versus now, where the technology is, you know, it comes out of the clouds, it comes out of the water,
right.
And I just love that technology feel, and I feel like that the lead actor, all right, okay, yes, a black woman, don't care, doesn't bother me, I'm not politically correct, I don't care about any of that stuff, and I think she is the perfect person for that. Okay. And a lot of people don't like that.
Michael, you're talking about.
Yes, Michael. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason why I feel like she's the perfect person for that, not because of race or anything. I like her. I just like her character and her. What do you call it? Her
persona.
Her persona, her mannerisms, her being blamed when really I'm not sure she should be blamed.
No, she shouldn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly
and
what you're saying.
And she has to put up with that. And I don't know, man. I can't describe, other than the way they take off in warp is different. And I know a lot of people had a lot of problems with that.
Right.
I love it. I think it is fantastic. And I think they're there to kind of try to draw in some millennials, you know?
Sure.
And more people my age is going to side like you in the beginning.
Right.
Okay? But because I didn't watch Star Trek, I really dig this. And, you know, it's hard for me to describe why I dig it so much.
It's because, and like I said, it's going towards a different age group.
Right.
Just like I'll give you a great example. Rambo First Blood.
Okay.
Great movie.
Yep.
You know, loved it, thought it was great, had a storyline. So as the years go by, actor gets older and older and older and does these movies, and now they do Rambo Last Blood. It was like Grandpa out there beating a bunch of soldiers on. Like, there's only so much they can do. And the same thing with Star Trek. And I was mentioning, the actors are getting older and older. And you know, young people aren't going to go up and see Captain Kirk, William Shatner, on the bridge of an Enterprise.
88 years
like,
old.
Who's this old guy? I want something hip now. And that's just the way it is. And I understand. Some of us, older people, generation, are going to be left behind.
Yeah.
And if we want to enjoy a show, we're going to have to look past some things. Yeah. You know, a lot of things are hard to look past because I've had arguments with people that not only is Discovery a lot different and visual and stuff, but the stories are not as good. I think they got good stories. I think they need to leave the original Star Trek alone. And this is where you come in because you've never seen it. But they bump on original Star Trek a lot. There's a character that had showed up that was kind of a pirate kind of guy, and they met him in the prison camp.
Oh yes, yeah.
Hardcore fit mud, Harry Mudd.
Right.
There were 2 episodes about him in the original, and he was pretty much just like a whimsical character that would not harm a fly, but he liked money and all that. So they've made Harry Mudd in Discovery this intergalactic terrorist, pretty much.
And STARWARS.
He's killing people. Yeah, STARWARS. Killing people and innocent animals, stuff like, you know, and I'm like, just leave it alone. Don't even revisit it. Come up with storylines, because original Star Trek was on a 5-year mission. We only had 3 years and 87 episodes to visit this 5-year mission.
Yeah.
So there were other missions that were going on. I think Discovery, to keep everybody happy, which is impossible, should have focused on the other episodes that they didn't ever show, the ideas they had.
Right.
Like instead of saying, you were talking about the Klingon War.
Right.
That never happened in the original Star Trek.
Okay.
This is what happened. The Klingons were being a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty much like the Klingons usually are. I love Klingons. Sorry to my Klingon friends, because y'all know Kapla. I have the tattoo and everything. Don't worry about it. I love the Klingon. But they were being assholes. They said, we're going to take over the Federation and run into their thing. So they run up on this planet with these people on it called the Organians. And they were peaceful people that had developed so far into technology they didn't like technology. And they got rid of it because they were spiritual beings that were pure energy.
Right.
Spoiler alert, original Star Trek.
Could they not leave the island?
They couldn't leave. What island?
Or the planet, I mean? Could they not leave or something? Or am I thinking something?
No, they could leave, but they were beyond what humanity was at the time of the original Star Trek.
I got you.
So the Klingons started taking over that planet.
Yeah.
The Federation was there because it had dilithium crystals there, and which is their power source. So the Organians, they just threw down this one card at the Klingons because they were about to go to war. The Enterprise, there was a battle cruiser coming in on the Enterprise in orbit of this of Organia, and so the Organians stood up and said, "That's it," and they made everything that had anything to do with war extremely hot to the touch.
Oh.
So they're Kirk and Spock are fixing to fight the Klingons. The Klingons had their phase pistols, and we had our phasers. And all of a sudden they dropped and like, what is it? And they went to hit each other and their fists got hot.
Oh, okay.
And everyone on the Enterprise stood up because their seats got hot. They said, we're ending your war. The Organians said, we're ending your war. And we don't want any violence. And then this is, as I speak to you, I speak on the Earth Federation home planet and the Klingon home planet. Never said Kronos. They never said Kronos in the original Star Trek, only in the movies. So, which is, you recognize that from Discovery. And that's how that ended. So the rest of the original Star Trek, when they ran into Klingons, they didn't fight. They were just, doing minor things. So for Discovery to reach into that, that's different.
Yes, and
so
that's what I like about it.
I understand that.
Yes.
You're getting to see the Klingon War, which they've spoke about up until that point, but that's how they ended on original Star Trek. Well, we're done with it. No more war. But now in Discovery, it's still going on. It goes on to the very last episode of the first season, and it goes into the second season.
Yes.
So, and I agree with you 100%. From your perspective of not being an original Star Trek fan, Discovery is pleasing to you.
Yes, very.
So, I think that's great. I just wish they would leave the original storylines alone.
Okay, what about little plugs here and there? Would you be okay with that?
What kind of little plugs?
Just a little plugs like
the Triple.
Yeah, just something small that's not big in the storyline, but you go
a mention.
Yeah.
So just like when you go into Captain Gabriel's ready room, he's all into war things. I don't want to give anything away if you have not watched Discovery yet, but you'll hear a Tribble cooing in the background. They never show it, but it's like doing in the background. And people that have never watched the original Star Trek say they wouldn't even get that. Oh, what is that noise? You not even cross your mind. You didn't pay attention to it until I brought it up earlier today.
Well, I had heard it because you had did it in a video for Sci-Fi Bartow that I videoed for us.
Right, I remember
we
that.
did a video.
Oh yeah, Sci-Fi Bartow, February 15th, Saturday, from 11 to 6. Third Saturday of February. Check it out. All right, shameless plug over. Go ahead. I have to plug that because that's why
thousands of people, believe me.
Thousands of people show up. So.
Yeah. Gremlins. Yeah.
Triples.
Okay.
If you don't get it right, I'm going to kick your ass. It's a triple. I know where you're.
I know. I'm just messing.
I know you are. I know you are.
But are you okay with little plugs like that?
Yes.
Okay, because Abrams kind of did that in the new S series. And
well, they had tribbles in the J.J. Abrams movie you love that I hate, the Into Darkness. Dr. McCoy was testing this blood on the tribbles, and it was killing them. And he finally found it, and was like, "All right, this is this way." But see, they did that. That was a blatant. I don't even want to get into the J.J. Abrams movie. Let's stick with Discovery.
Yeah, I got you.
But a tip of the hat now and then would be great. But just don't blatantly bring in something just because it's going to attract the old Star Trek people.
Right, because it kind of seems like it's being forced.
Because us old Star Trek people are laughing at you guys about that, and like, oh my God, I can't. Not all of us. I don't want to speak for our entire religious organization of Trekkies, but a little bit here and there is great. Even in the opening when they do the theme song. they'd only play like 4 chords of the original Star Trek
Yeah.
music at the very end. And if you ever watch it, you'll get what I'm saying. And they do throw Gene Roddenberry's name up there, which is the creator of Star Trek.
Yes.
And this is why we have shows like Discovery, is because Gene Roddenberry has went on to higher places. One of his stipulations was he didn't want to have, when he was doing Star Trek, he didn't want renegade Starfleet officers. What's Michael?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He didn't want gratuitous sex and things like that, even though he was kind of he liked it himself.
Yeah.
And what do you have in Discovery? You got gay relations, which is fine. Not saying it, but you have a promiscuous character that goes to a strip club and has a threesome pretty much with some Orions.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of sexual innuendos. There's one part where they eat another crew member. Okay, I'll leave that out there. But when Roddenberry passed away towards, I think it was the end of Deep Space Nine or the middle of Deep Space Nine, things started changing in the Star Trek world. Even on Deep Space Nine and then Voyager, they had renegade Starfleet officers. Then you have Discovery, and it's totally dumped the Roddenberry bucket out and flushed it down the toilet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry if I'm upsetting some people out there, but you know, this is just 2 guys talking about sci-fi and science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have some of the names right. We don't have some of the actors' names, because that's a lot to remember, especially at my age. And Randy's kind of a dumbass, so you know, that's just the way that it is. I'm kidding, you're not.
But I got something I got to bring up. Okay, so we talk about Abrams shows, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There is one thing I did not like about. I love them.
Right.
But I felt like they made Kirk cheating on the test a bad person.
Well, that was actually part of the original Star Trek.
Oh, it was?
Yes. Kirk, and there's a great book called The Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
And you've seen it when you watch the original Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
And the young lady, Robin Curtis's character, Savick, was taking the test, the Kobayashi Maru, which is a simulation of what would happen.
Right.
And they have set this test up to have no possible way you can get out of it.
Right.
So Kirk, whose motto is, I don't believe in the no-win situation.
Right.
He decided to go in there, and he talks about it in Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And ironically, he's eating an apple like the Kirk from J.J. Abrams when he's talking about this, which is really funny. And he's like, I think it was Bones said, you're looking at the only Starfleet cadet that ever beat the no-win scenario. And she goes, well, how did you do it? Savage goes, how do you do it? He goes, I cheated. I made the test so I could win. Because what they were giving me, there's always a way out of every situation. Even in true life and real life, you know. Yeah. Just like you were telling us on a previous podcast about you naming your children after really creepy kids from movies and stuff. You know, there's no way you can go back and change Gage's name or, you know, Lathan's name or Xander's name, because you know, they're used to it. Yeah. And you know, and it's so hard to train those kids, you know, to even remember what their name is, you know. Any kid, I'm not just talking about Randy's kid. Sorry, Ashley, I'm not beating up your kids. But I'm just saying there's always a way out of a situation. Yeah. Oh my God, my car broke down and I got no money until payday. What am I going to do? And I go, well, you go to Amscott and get a pre on your advance on your check. But anyway, that's what that was. So when they bridged into the J.J. Abrams movie, that is actually was part of the original story.
I didn't see it. I didn't even realize that.
And they haven't gotten to that in Discovery because we are pre-Captain Kirk in Discovery. Right. Now I'm going to tell you something Discovery did that I thought was really kind of cool. When, what is the first officer's name? The alien guy, the guy that has the gangula that sticks up on his neck. Gosh, it sounds like Sulu, but it's not Sulon or something. Sorry, can't remember. I've met Doug Jones, which plays that character many times, and that's who that is. But he said he was trying to figure out when he got actually, and you remember this part when they made him captain of the Discovery. He's like, show me all the previous captains and the way they were.
Their percentage of
yes. And they showed the board, and they had all the original characters. Captain April, which was the actual first captain of the Starship Enterprise, was on there. Christopher Pike.
Yeah.
And then they had Archer on there, and Captain Archer was in Enterprise, which is another series that you never watched. Right. But you would love that.
I've already made my mind up. After liking this, I'm going back.
If you watch Enterprise, if you're not original Star Trek fan, it's a lot like Discovery in a way, because they come off of left field and they're trying to show what it was like. The ship has better technology than the ship that's actually newer than theirs and all of that. Right. So, but anyway, Discovery, I'm giving it another chance.
Okay.
It's not in my top 10 of favorite Star Trek episodes or movies. I like where it's going, and I hope it continues. There is talk of a third season already. So when I watch second season, which comes out in November on Blu-ray DVD, I'm going to give it another chance, and I'll probably watch it 3 or 4 times just to, as I like to say, wrap my head around the situation.
Right. Oh yeah, and then we'll definitely have to come on here and
we'll follow up, because there's a lot to talk about. And again, I want to tell you guys, as we told you in our first podcast, we're just a couple guys talking sci-fi.
Yep.
And, you know, there's people going out there, oh, I can't believe you can't remember Doctor Strange's real name, Cumberbatch. I still can't remember.
I wouldn't even know.
I know. I call it Cumberbatch and things, and I understand that, but we're just regular guys.
Yeah,
this is what makes us good for this podcast, and why we're being something different. You know, we're not sitting there and studying up and all that. Not knocking any other podcasts. You guys are great. We watch a lot of you guys out there.
Oh,
but we want to put a whimsical, kind of funny spin on it. It's more of a comedy show than it is like, and tell details. It's like just two guys talking about sci-fi and how we think about it. We got a big 10-year generation gap between Randy and I, and I just thought it'd be a really great idea to talk about Discovery, because I've already figured it out. It's for a younger generation. Yeah. Not that 42 is young or anything, but still, I see where you're coming from. You like the action. You love action movies. You like
war.
Yes. Yeah. And it's all about your taste too. Yeah. You know, so I liked the original Star Trek. It was not all about. I like the war part. I love my most top 5 episodes have something to do with the actually using the ship to fight either a giant cornucopia in space, or chasing, being held in orbit by a giant ghost hand, which was a great episode. I'm bothering people that watch Star Trek right now because they know what I'm talking about. They're like, you know what that was. But I love it. I like the Trouble with Tribbles episode, which if you watch, you would not like, because it's like the Whale movie.
Oh, okay.
Because it's them talking to these furry things. Pretty much, it's all about them.
I got you.
Because Tribbles, gremlins, as Randy calls it, because he's an idiot. No, I'm just kidding. They multiply like gremlins. Yeah. They eat and they multiply it. They don't have to get wet. So one Tribble can produce thousands of these things, and it's a lot of fun. But Discovery, it's merging for me, because I think they're going to start trying to be more like the original Star Trek, which is going to do one of two things to me. I'm either going to hate it more, or I'm going to like it a little bit.
Right.
Because I don't like them stepping on something new. And when we get into our future podcast about remakes and reboots, we'll discuss this. But come up with something original, people.
Yeah.
Even if it is Star Trek, there's so many different storylines.
Yeah.
Even and a lot of people say, well, Next Generation talked about original Star Trek, but they stuck with the timeline and the canon. Even Voyager did, and Deep Space Nine. Enterprise, not so much, because they actually, and my Star Trek fans will know this, but the creatures that are in Star Trek called the Borg, they're like cybernetic zombies. I know you like zombies.
Oh, yeah.
They did not come into play until Next Generation, but Enterprise, which was set before original Star Trek, they had an encounter with the Borg then, and never mentioned it. So, and just come up with your own ideas, is all that I can tell you. So,
yeah, I got you.
So what else you want?
I was just going to say, that after liking this new series, I plan on going back and watching more of the older stuff and checking it out and giving it a fair shakedown. Okay.
So you're telling me right now you're going to be borrowing my shit, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And I also know that I gotta be careful with it.
I know. I'll blow your mind even one step further. There's an animated series of Star Trek.
I have no clue.
It's actually kind of a continuation of the 3-year mission of the original ones, and a lot of the actors are voiceover for them.
Wow.
And they revisit, they put some closure on a few things, and it's made for Saturday morning. It was on at the same time that Land of the Lost and H.R. Puff and stuff. Remember those shows?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Not the remakes with Will Smith and all that, but the older stuff.
No, I don't remember.
Before you were born. So, but it's made for kids, you know. Yeah. But that's something else you need to look into. So. We do it good on time? Or
we're 45 minutes, so we better wrap it up. You better get our sponsors in here.
I will. Real quick, Sci-Fi Bartow cups are available. A 30-ounce stainless steel cup made by J&E Creations. You can find them on Facebook. Randy will throw up the logo for you here in a little bit. $30 for a 16-ounce and $40 for a, let me look on them, I think, for a 30 ounce and 40 ounce. So a 30 ounce is 30, 40 ounce is 40, and that includes shipping in the United States for free. So get these before Sci-Fi Bartow. They'll keep hot beverages hot all day and cold beverages cold all day.
How's that know?
It's stainless steel. Oh, that's what it is. That's what I've been drinking out. S&L Restaurant in Lakeland, Florida. Check them out. Best hamburgers in the world.
Their burgers are addicting.
They are very addicting. Best, cleanest restaurant you'll ever be in your life. My sister-in-law owns it. Not plugging it because she's related. I ate there before I knew I was related to her. Mm-hmm. So
you got an old license plate laying around?
Yep, they'll take it up and hang it on the wall. It's really awesome. Yep. Randy will throw up the information for that as well. And hope to see you on our next show. We have a big surprise next show. Can I hint it a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on 1 second. We have a special guest coming to the microphone. Godzilla. We're going to talk Godzilla. Oh, he's licking the microphone. That's what you're hearing. Godzilla. And we're going to talk about other giant monsters. One of
the big debates between me and you is Stay Puft. Is he really a giant monster?
Is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a giant monster? Tune into our next podcast and find out the answer to that questions and other things on Talking Sci-Fi with Sean and Randee. See you next time, guys.